The moment Jake Sullivan stepped into the gleaming hotel lobby, exhaustion weighing on his shoulders like concrete, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. He was just a single dad desperate for extra cash, taking a one-night VIP security job that paid more than his weekly salary. He never expected to meet Elise Winters, hotel heiress with sad eyes and a smile that would haunt his dreams. And he certainly never expected her to look at him the way no one had in years, like he mattered. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more heartfelt content that reminds us love can find us in the most unexpected places. Jake adjusted his tie for the third time, the unfamiliar weight of the expensive suit making him feel like an imposter. The babysitter was costing him extra for the late night, but $950 for one evening of VIP security work was too good to pass up. His daughter Lily needed braces, and his teaching salary barely covered their modest apartment and groceries. The text from his friend Marcus had been a lifeline: high-end hotel needs last-minute replacement for charity gala. Pays cash. You in? The Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom sparkled with wealth, crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing freely, diamonds catching light from every direction. Jake stood against the wall, scanning the crowd as he'd been instructed. His job was simple: keep an eye on the hotel owner's daughter during the charity gala and ensure no unwanted attention came her way. "That's her," Marcus murmured, nodding toward a woman in a midnight blue gown. "Elise Winters. Father owns half the luxury hotels on the East Coast. Your assignment for the night." Jake's breath caught. Elise Winters moved through the crowd with practiced grace, but something in her eyes seemed distant, detached from the glittering scene around her. Her smile never quite reached those eyes, a detail that struck him immediately. He recognized that look. He'd seen it in his own mirror for the 3 years since Sarah's death. "She's had some trouble with an aggressive ex," Marcus explained. "Nothing violent, but he's shown up uninvited at events. Just keep her in sight, intervene if necessary." The night progressed smoothly. Jake maintained a respectful distance, watching as Elise charmed donors and posed for photographs. She played her role flawlessly, but he caught the moments when her smile faltered, when she'd glance at her watch or take a deep breath before diving back into conversation. It was nearly midnight when he noticed her slip away from the crowd, heading toward a secluded balcony. Protocol said to follow, but maintain distance. He gave her a moment before following. The cool night air was a relief after the stuffy ballroom. Elise stood at the railing, her back to him, shoulders slightly hunched. "I know you're there," she said without turning. "Dad's new security detail, right?" "Yes, ma'am. Just making sure you're safe." She turned then, and the moonlight caught the unmistakable shine of tears on her cheeks. "Safe," she repeated with a hollow laugh. "I'm surrounded by 200 people and I've never felt more alone." Something in her vulnerability struck a chord. Before he could stop himself, Jake replied, "I understand that feeling better than you might think." Her eyes narrowed, studying him with new interest. "You're not the usual type they hire. I'm a substitute. One night only. What do you do when you're not following heiresses onto dark balconies?" "I teach high school history. And raise my daughter." Something in her expression softened. "Single dad?" He nodded, surprised by her perception. "I can always tell," she said with the first genuine smile he'd seen all evening. "There's a certain watchfulness about single parents. Like you're always on alert." The conversation that followed changed everything. For 15 minutes, they weren't security and client, or teacher and heiress. They were just two people sharing pieces of themselves under a star-filled sky. She spoke of the emptiness of her world, the constant performance. He told her about Lily, about teaching, about the struggle to be both mother and father to a 10-year-old girl. The spell broke when her father's assistant appeared, announcing it was time for Elise's speech. She straightened, mask sliding back into place. "Thank you," she said simply, before walking away. Jake assumed that would be the end of it. A brief, strange connection on a moonlit balcony, nothing more. He was wrong. The next morning, as he made pancakes for Lily before school, his phone rang with an unknown number. "Mr. Sullivan? This is Elise Winters. I hope you don't mind, but I got your number from the security company. I have a proposition for you." The proposition was unexpected, a summer job as her personal security during a cross-country tour of her father's hotels. The pay was staggering, enough to cover Lily's braces, set aside college funds, and fix the leaking roof. "I can't just leave my daughter for the summer," he explained. "Bring her," Elise said simply. "We'll make it work." And somehow, they did. What began as a professional arrangement evolved as the summer progressed. Lily blossomed under Elise's attention, the two forming a bond over shared love of books and art. Jake watched in wonder as his daughter laughed more freely than she had since her mother died. For Elise, Jake and Lily represented something her privileged life had never provided: authenticity. No agenda, no performance required. Just real connection. The attraction between Jake and Elise grew slowly, cautiously. Both carried wounds, both feared vulnerability. He worried about the vast differences in their worlds, she feared he saw her only as her family's wealth and status. Their first kiss happened in Seattle, in the rain outside a small bookstore where they'd taken Lily for a reading. Simple, unexpected, perfect. But reality couldn't be held at bay forever. When photos of them appeared in tabloids, the backlash was swift. Her father called, furious about the inappropriate relationship. Jake's position was terminated immediately. "This was never going to work," Jake said as he packed their bags in the hotel suite. "We live in different worlds." "That's not fair," Elise argued, tears streaming down her face. "You're just afraid." "Of course I'm afraid. I have Lily to think about. I can't let her get attached to someone who'll eventually realize we don't fit into her life." "You don't get to decide what I'll realize," Elise said fiercely. "And you don't get to decide what's best for me." But Jake did what he thought was right. He and Lily returned home, leaving Elise behind. Autumn came, bringing school and routine. Jake threw himself into teaching, trying to forget the summer that felt increasingly like a dream. Lily grew quieter, often asking about Elise, keeping the postcards she'd sent from each city they'd visited. Then, on a rainy October evening, a knock came at their apartment door. Elise stood there, soaked from the rain, no makeup, no designer clothes. Just her. "I quit," she said simply. "I walked away from it all." "What are you talking about?" "The hotels, the inheritance, the life I never chose. I told my father I wanted to make my own way." She took a deep breath. "I bought the old bookstore downtown. The one that's been closed for years. I'm going to reopen it." "You bought a bookstore? Here? Why would you do that?" Her eyes met his, unwavering. "Because I fell in love with a history teacher who thinks he's not good enough for me. Because I fell in love with his daughter who showed me what family really means. Because for the first time in my life, I found something real, and I'm not letting it go without a fight." From down the hall came a squeal of delight as Lily spotted Elise. She ran, throwing herself into Elise's arms. Jake watched them, his heart full and terrified all at once. "I can't offer you the life you're used to." Elise looked up at him, Lily still clinging to her. "You've got it backwards, Jake Sullivan. You offer me the only life I've ever wanted." Their journey wasn't easy. Elise's father cut her off completely. The bookstore struggled its first year. Jake faced whispers and judgment from those who assumed he was after her money. But together, they built something beautiful, a family formed not by obligation or circumstance, but by choice. 2 years later, on the balcony of the Grand Meridian Hotel, rented for one special night, Jake knelt before Elise with a modest ring and all the love in his heart. "You once told me you'd never felt more alone than when surrounded by hundreds of people," he said. I promise you'll never feel that way again." As Elise said yes, Lily watching with joyful tears, Jake reflected on how a desperate need for $950 had led him to the greatest wealth he'd ever known, love that crossed boundaries, healed wounds, and created family from strangers. Sometimes the most unexpected jobs lead to the most unexpected blessings. And sometimes, when we're brave enough to let them in, those blessings change everything. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that celebrates love in all its forms. Remember that sometimes the greatest love stories begin when we least expect them, and the families we create can be even more powerful than the ones we're born into.